Hi guys, my name is Jacob Reedy, and for my week 4 presentation I'm going to be discussing the internal workings of a PC. We're going to be going over the different components that make up the PC and give a brief description of what they are and how they pertain to the complete system itself. I believe it's important for anyone that's in the IT profession to know the internal workings obviously, but also to have built, repaired, or even upgraded a system. It makes you feel more comfortable with the device, and it's not as scary as you think it is. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to go ahead and tear this guy apart. We're going to go over each piece and explain a little bit and give you some tips and tricks if you are building, repairing, or upgrading your own personal computer or business computer. Okay, so we've dissected this computer and pulled out all the guts. Usually it only takes the requirement of a screwdriver and possibly some cutters if you've got zip ties and things like that, but for the most part this guy usually handles everything. So we're going to start with the most important pieces. They're all important, but things that you definitely need, otherwise it's not going to run at all. So the very first part is also the smallest part, but the most powerful. This is the processor, or CPU depending on the reference. A lot of people will say CPU to refer to the computer, but processor, CPU, it's all the same. Basically almost all, the information from the computer running Windows, playing video games, even sending a message to Facebook, it all runs through this guy. This guy basically controls all the information and sends it to its proper places. Now the way it does that is that it attaches to the motherboard. And the motherboard is kind of an extension of the processor, where it gives basically each devoted device the ability to communicate to the processor. This is the back of the motherboard, and here you'll see that there is a display port for your monitor. You have your Ethernet connection, USB connections, audio connections. Now, the motherboard sits in the computer on risers. So if you are installing the motherboard, make sure the risers are installed first, because if this thing grounds out to the back of the computer, it'll never power on and you may harm the motherboard in the process. There's several different connections on the motherboard, which I will go over now. You have your slots for RAM, and basically RAM is the ability to hold information that is not being sent to storage. So running Windows, running applications, playing video games, it relies on the amount of RAM that you have. And each board is different, where it requires a specific kind of RAM. So if you're ordering RAM for a new motherboard, make sure you get the right speeds on there, otherwise it's not going to work out very well for you. Also on the motherboard we have SATA ports. And the SATA ports is the way that the external devices connect to the motherboard and then relay back to the processor. These are SATA ports, and they are the common connection nowadays. There was IDE cables, which were big and flat. These guys have replaced them. Also on this guy, you've got additional slots where you can add additional devices, if you choose to. You have slots to add additional USBs if you have multiple devices that you like running off of it. You also have a slot dedicated to an additional graphics card, and it basically depends on if you are a gamer or you need those enhanced graphics for Photoshop or movie editing, things like that. It does give you the ability to increase the graphics so that you don't run into lag issues. Basically it helps the processor take care of the brute force of calculations. So that's the motherboard. Now the other devices on the system, you also have your power supply. It is important that depending on what kind of program you're running or what kind of power that you're running through the system, with the addition to a graphics card it will take more power to consuming. You need to make sure that you have the right power supply for the system as well. Also, we have an optical drive, or CD drive, or DVD drive, whatever you want to call it. It also connects with SATA cables, and it's honestly kind of seeing its way out. There's a lot of laptops are now going the way of no disk drive, because they're finding other methods such as USB jump drives and things to boot games, programs, things like that that you can just download directly over the internet or transfer with a USB drive. But some people still love these things. My last computer, I've actually removed it and haven't had any problems. But if you do want to watch a movie, or if you do like burning CDs, it's a necessity. Finally, we have the hard drive. The hard drive is where all the information is stored, such as your pictures, your music, your programs, Windows, or whatever operating system that you're using. It's all stored on here. There's a lot of different flavors of hard drives. The newest state is a solid state drive, which actually doesn't have any moving parts. It's kind of like a large USB drive, if you will, and the speed that those guys run is pretty impressive. So a lot of computer users are moving towards the solid state drive, especially for their Windows operating system and their larger programs such as movie editing programs and Photoshop. So they're in different sizes. A lot of common sizes you'll see now are 500 gigs to a terabyte to even 2 and 3 terabytes. And it kind of just depends on what you do on your machine. If you like to back up movies, if you have a large music selection, you want to keep an eye on that and see if it is possible that you need to upgrade the system to hold all that information that you have. So that's basically the inner workings of a computer. Some additional devices. This right here is a heat sink. This sits on top of the processor to displace the heat and keep the system running cooler. Fans in the case will also circulate the air to make sure that it does stay cool as well. A cooler machine equals a more efficient and a better running machine. Every once in a while, I definitely recommend you opening the case and using a duster, cleaning it out just to keep the lint and static and everything off the machine so it can run a little better. So basically that's the internal workings of a computer. If I had more time, we would definitely go ahead and put this thing together step by step just to give you a better description, but maybe I'll do that in the next video. I hope this has answered a few of your questions. If you do have any other questions, there's no harm in actually opening the machine yourself and taking a look. Be careful about it. Watch out for tension on the screws and which parts go in first. But I've pulled apart several computers in my profession and just my hobby, and it's a piece of cake. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and thank you very much.